Hi, this is Analytics, and welcome to another lesson. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts or questions in the comments. Let's get started. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to import multiple tables at the same time in Power Query. For example, when you're working for a company and you have a weekly report or a monthly report, and when you need to update your data, for example, if you have data on January and then you have a new report for February, you don't have to replace the file that you used for January and replace it with a new one for January and February. And then in March, you don't have to replace it for a new file with all the data from January to March. So you don't need to replace your tables. All you have to do is just add a new file with the current month. In this case, you would use the first report for January. Then the second report, you only have to add a new table, a new file for February, and then a new file for March. So every month, you don't have to mess up the previous data. All you have to do is to add the new file for the current period, and then Power Query will import all of those files at the same time, all of the files in a certain folder, and append them together. So in Power Query, you will use all of these multiple files as if they were just one, even though you didn't have to replace multiple files for just one single big file. And let's learn how to do it in practice. In this case, we have sales data from March 2007 to December 2007, and I will load it all at the same time in Power Query. And all of those files are all in this single folder. This folder is 10 to 50, importing multiple files. And if I double click this folder, you'll see that all of the files are in here. So actually what I'm going to import is not individual. I'm not going to load each of the files one at a time and then append them together in Power Query. I'm going to actually import everything that is inside this folder. So if I'm importing everything inside this folder, all of these files will be imported at the same time. Let's see how to do it in Power Query. I'm doing it in Power BI, but you can do it from Excel. Only you have to go to the Data tab, and in the Data tab, you will get data just like you do in Power BI. And if you click More, then there's this option here, Folders. So you're getting data not as an individual file, but you're getting data, all the data that is inside a given folder. And of course, when I click Connect, I have to look for the folder in my computer in which all my files are. Then I'll browse for the folder, and this is the folder I'm going to use, importing multiple files, 10 to 50. This is the one. I'm going to click it and click OK. Now, OK again. There you go. And you will see that this preview is different from the previews we've seen so far, because normally when you are importing a single file, so this preview is going to be a preview of the table that you are importing from that file. In this case, we have multiple files, so there's no way to show a preview of each table in each of the files because we have many files. And in this case, this preview table, it's not really a preview of the content of the tables, but an overall table showing metadata. And metadata is just data about data. It's showing general information about the tables we are importing. In this column, for example, the name column, it's the name of the files we are importing. And as I showed you, we are importing data from March to December 2007. It's just the names of the files I'm importing, and the extension, in this case, those are all CSV files, the date, access, date modified, and the folder path in my computer. So it's just the overall information about the tables were imported and not actually the content of each table. And binary, that is important. Binary is a data type. We haven't seen this data type because binary is somewhat of a more complex data type, but overall, binary is a data type that pretty much can give you anything. If you work with text data type, you can only have text in a column. If you're working with whole numbers, all the numbers in that column is going to be an integer, or the same with decimal numbers. But when you're working with binary, pretty much you can have anything in a cell. You could even have a whole table inside a cell. And look, that is a very important thing to notice, that in Power Query, you can have an entire table inside a single cell. We're going to see that. And I'm going to click transform data, transform data. Now the Power Query editor will open up. There you go. And look, this is the same table with information about the tables we just loaded. It's not actually the content of the tables. And in the content column, I'm going to click these two down arrows. It takes a few seconds, and now it is giving you a preview actually of the content of the tables. And of course, in this case, I have 10 tables. I have 10 tables. Of course, Power Query won't be able to show you a preview of all of the 10 tables at the same time, and has to pick one at a time to show you. And as a default, it's going to give you a preview of the first table. And in this case, the first table is not March. The first table in this case is the first one in this table right here. You can see that in this table, the first row is the file referring to October 2007. So actually the first table in the first preview of the table is for the file referring to October. And that is why I'm seeing October right here. But I could pick, for example, the second one, which is November, and it's going to give me a preview of November or of any other file whose preview I want to see. But actually, it's just a preview because I actually want to, oops, June. It's going to take a few seconds because these files are long. And actually, what I want to do, I want to import the whole thing, all of the files at the same time. And I'm going to click OK. And now you can see that, well, let me just use the first row as headers. Use first rows as headers. And now you can see that in the date key column, if I click the down button, I can see that I have all the files here from March to December. And it's like it works the same way as appending all the tables. And in the previous lessons, we studied what appending tables is and how to do it in Power Query. So if you haven't watched that video, please refer back to that video. And this is pretty much the same. We are actually appending tables, and we are doing it from the source and not importing table by table, then appending it in Power Query, because it doesn't make sense. If you have 1,000 or 100 files, importing file by file is kind of a hassle, would be very difficult, right? So appending tables makes sense when you have a few tables, but if you're importing multiple tables, this option, to me, it looks a lot more reasonable. And then from here, you can start cleaning and treating your data. This first table right here, it only brings me the name of each file, the file to which each of the rows belong. Well, I don't need it. I'm just going to remove it. I'm going to use the choose columns button. Choose columns, and this one I'm gonna leave it out. And date key, I'm gonna make it a date and time. Well, actually, let me make it just date. And now you can start working your data. But look, there's a little problem here because it's a CSV file. So I will click any of these columns. I'll just click down. You can see there's an error in this date key column. There's an error here. And why is that? Let me see what is the data I have in this column. Let me click load more. Well, it's not, there's a lot of data here, so it's too much for Power Query to handle. Let me pick another one, StoreKey, load more. And yeah, you can see that I have a StoreKey as a text instead of a number. Let me just only select StoreKey. And now that is why you're getting an error. That's why you get an error, because you have, as you loaded multiple tables, so the column headers for all of these multiple tables are still here as part of my main table, of my main data. So what I have to do, I could also click the error here, and it's going to show that it's a format error. Why a format error? It's because, let me delete the last step. It's because I asked Power Query to turn this column into date, but it can turn text into date, so it returned me an error. And all I have to do to solve this, I would just I'll select everything except for the StoreKey text. And now I still have errors here. Let me try to load more. Date and key. And now date. And there you go. There you go. It worked just fine. Okay, so that's how we import multiple data in Power Query, multiple files at the same time. And just the last detail, whenever you import multiple files at the same time in Power Query will create a few helper queries. And these are all objects that we are going to discuss in the advanced Power Query course. We're not going to get into that at this point. Basically, this is a parameter, this is a list, and this is a function. We're going to discuss all that later. And these helper queries will not be a problem for you. Don't worry about them. You don't have to remove them. There is a way to remove them, and we'll see it in the advanced course. Actually, removing it could make your project look cleaner, but also you could run into problems if you decide to remove them. At this point, do not remove them because it's going to break your project. We will discuss that in the advanced course, but just don't worry about these helper queries. They're not a problem for you at all. Okay, that's how you import multiple tables at the same time in Power Query. I hope you liked this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, keep with us in the next videos, and see you in the next lesson.